So how do you even begin to undo decades of division that are literally baked into the streets and buildings of a city? It's a huge question. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating case study from South Africa's capital, Tshwane. We're going to unpack the powerful strategy it's using to redesign its own future and, hopefully heal the scars of its past. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so to really understand the solution here, we first have to get our heads around the problem. And at its core is this. Apartheid-era planning wasn't just about laws on paper. It was about geography. It was a deliberate, calculated system to create physical distance between communities. And what that left behind were cities that were, by design, sprawling, inefficient, and just deeply, deeply unequal.
So let's dig into that a little more. What's the lasting legacy of this kind of design? What does it actually mean day to day for the people who have to live in a city that was built specifically to keep them apart?
This quote, wow, it really just hits the nail on the head. This wasn't some accident. The city was intentionally fragmented to push marginalized communities way out to the edges, far away from jobs, from good schools, from services. The result? You get this massive urban sprawl, which forces people who can least afford it into long, expensive daily commutes. It literally locks them out of economic opportunities.
So how in the world does a city start to reverse something so ingrained? Well, Tshwane's big answer is a strategy called transit-oriented development, or what you'll hear called TOD, and it's a complete 180-degree rethinking of how a city should grow. What's so fascinating here is just how specific this is. TOD isn't some vague, fluffy concept. It's a real formula. We're talking about building up, not out. The whole idea is to create these dense, vibrant hubs with homes, shops, and offices all clustered together. And the key part is it's all within about a 10-minute walk of a major bus or train station.
And listen, the city isn't just treating this like another policy document that sits on a shelf. The official framework literally calls TOD a game changer. They see it as the absolute key to creating a city that's more efficient, more livable, and more fair for everyone. This is their core strategy for physically reshaping Tshwane from the ground up.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint. But how does it actually work to reconnect a city that was designed to be disconnected? Let's break down the mechanics of it. All right, so here are the main goals. First, it directly fights that urban sprawl we talked about by focusing all the new growth inwards. Second, and this is so crucial, it creates what they call ridership thresholds. Think about it. Public transport is only sustainable if enough people actually use it. So by putting more people and more businesses right next to the stations, you pretty much guarantee the ridership you need to run a frequent, affordable system. And that in turn boosts social equity and connects people to jobs. This slide just illustrates the whole transformation perfectly. On the left, you've got the old model, that low-density sprawl forcing everyone into cars for these long, expensive commutes, living in segregated areas. And on the right, you have the TOD vision, dense, walkable hubs built around affordable public transit, creating integrated neighborhoods where people can actually live, work, and play all in the same area. I just love this metaphor from the city's planning documents. TOD is all about stringing the city together. It's like they're weaving these new threads of transport and community right through the old, fragmented fabric of the city. It's about physically connecting people back to the opportunities they were once cut off from. This all sounds great in theory, right? A total game changer. But is it actually happening? Let's take a look at how Tshwane is turning this really ambitious blueprint into a concrete reality. The city is following a very clear, methodical plan. First, they pinpoint the most important transport corridors. Then, they use this really smart strategy called spatial targeting to focus their budget where it's going to have the biggest impact. After that, they create super detailed plans for each station area, or precinct. And crucially, they make sure new housing is actually built right along these new transit lines. And this isn't just lip service. The city is seriously putting its money where its mouth is. Get this, 13%. That number represents the slice of the city's entire capital budget that is specifically set aside for projects inside these TOD zones. For a city budget, that is a massive financial commitment. It shows they're serious. And we can actually see it happening on the ground. The plan is being rolled out along key bus rapid transit or BRT lines and in specific station areas like Mabopane and Salisville. These are places that can really benefit from better connections. But it's also happening in major hubs like the Centurion station for the Gauda train, which is the region's high-speed rail line. You know, the impact of a strategy like this goes way, way beyond just transport and housing. It's really about building a fundamentally better city, one that is both more just for its people and a whole lot healthier for the planet. This is such a powerful visual. It's simple. When you build compact neighborhoods that are served by public transit instead of these sprawling car-dependent suburbs, the carbon emissions per person just plummet. This makes TOD a central pillar of the city's climate action plan because it directly cuts the carbon footprint from everyone driving everywhere. So at the end of the day, this strategy delivers what you could call a triple payoff. It's a social win because it slashes travel costs and time for the people who need that break the most. It's an economic win by connecting a much wider pool of people to jobs, and it's an environmental win by building a low-carbon city. It's one single strategy that tackles multiple big problems all at once. Which really leaves us with a final big thought. Tshwane's plan, it's a direct response to its own unique and painful history. But the challenges it's trying to solve, inequality, sprawl, climate change, those are global problems. So as cities everywhere continue to grow at a crazy pace, you have to wonder, could this approach, this idea of intentionally designing for density, for transit, and for equity, could this be the blueprint they all need?